Welcome everyone to the World Chess FIDE Championship 2024 between Gukesh and Liren. So this is the round 7. So Gukesh is playing with the white pieces and Liren is playing with the black pieces. So let's start. It. So Gukesh start with the move knight to f3 and Liren replied with pawn to d5 and a pawn to g3 from Gukesh and a pawn to g6 from Liren and a pawn to d4 from Gukesh and a bishop to g7. Now pawn to c4, attack the pawn. Now pawn to c6 from Liren and a bishop to g2 from Gukesh and a knight to f6 is played from Liren. And now white castles and black also castles. Now rook to e1 from Gukesh and a pawn takes c4 pawn from Liren and a pawn to e4 to develop the center and now bishop to g4 from Liren and a knight to bd2 to attack the c4 pawn and a pawn to c5 is played. And a pawn to d5, a pawn to e6 is played, and now pawn to h3 to kick the bishop out. A bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, and now wait, pawn takes d5 pawn. Now pawn takes d5. Now knight to bd7. Now pawn takes c4 pawn, knight takes c4 pawn, and now pawn to b5 to take the knight. Now knight returns to a3. Now queen to b6. Now bishop to f4. Now rook to e8, offering a rook trade. So Gukesh played queen to d2. Now rook to d8 from Liren. Now knight comes to c2. Now knight to f8. Now pawn to b4. Now pawn to c4 is played. Now bishop to e3 to attack the queen. Queen slides to a6 and now bishop to d4 and after that rook takes rook Rook also captures it back. Now queen takes a2 pawn is played. And now rook to a1, which is protected by the bishop. And now queen to b3 is played to attack the bishop. Now rook to a3 to attack the queen and also the pawn on a7. Now queen to b1 check is played from Liren. Now king to g2 is played, and now rook to d7. Now rook to a5, and now queen to b3 from Liren. Now rook to a5, a3 again. Now queen to b1. Now rook to a5. Now queen to b3. Now rook takes b5 from Gukesh. And the wait, queen to d3 to offer a queen trade. Now Gukesh declines the queen trade and played queen to f4. A queen takes knight. Bishop takes knight. Queen to f5, offering a queen trade and also attacking the bishop. So Gukesh takes the queen. Ding also recaptures. Now bishop takes g7 bishop, and now king takes bishop. And now rook to c5 from Gukesh. Now knight to g6 from Liren. So it is now the rook and the bishop, the rook and knight endgame. Now rook takes c4 pawn. And now knight to e5 to attack the rook and the bishop. So rook to d4 from Gukesh. Now knight returns to c6 to attack the rook again and also the pawn. And now rook to f4 to also, and now knight to e7 to attack the pawn. And a pawn to b5 is played. And a king to f6. And a rook to d4 to protect the pawn. And a pawn to h6. And a king to f1. And a king to e5 to attack the rook. And after that, rook to h4 to attack the h6 pawn. Knight takes d5 pawn. Rook takes h6 pawn. Now knight to c3 to attack the b5 pawn. Now rook to c6, knight to e4, now king to e1, now pawn to f6, and a pawn to h4 is played by Gukesh. Now rook to d3 to attack the bishop. Now bishop returns to d1. Now pawn to f4 to attack the d3 pawn and break the structure of the pawn. So Gukesh chops off the pawn. King also takes. Now bishop to c2 to attack the rook. Now rook returns to d5 to attack the b5 pawn. And now Gukesh played rook to c4 because if you will take, I can take your knight. So pawn to f5 to defend the knight. Now rook to b4 to attack to defend the b5 pawn. Now king to f3 is played from Liren. Now bishop to d1 from Gukesh d. And now king to g2 to win f2 pawn. Gukesh played rook to b3. Now rook to e5. Now pawn to f4 to attack the rook. Now dealing with tricks is rook to e7, and now rook to e3 to pin the rook, to pin the knight. But Dinglerin played rook to h7 to attack the h4 pawn. Gukesh pushed the pawn because it is protected by the bishop. Now knight to f6 to attack it back. Now rook to e5 because if you will take, I can also take your pawn. So, but still Ding captures it back. Gukesh also captures. Now knight to g3 to attack the rook. Now Gukesh played rook to f8 to sometimes pin the knight. So Ding played rook to b7 attack the b5 pawn. Now bishop to a4 to defend that pawn. Now king to f3 to attack another pawn on f4. You cannot take because it is protected by the rook. So Gukesh played pawn to f5 to create a pass pawn. Ding played king to f4 to stop it. Gukesh push and a knight to e4 and a bishop to g2 to attack the knight. Now knight to d6 to control the f7 square and also attack this pawn. So Gukesh played knight to d7. Gukesh played rook to d8 to attack the knight and king to